You're very welcome to Radio Espial, episode 40. Kieran is with me. He's going to join me right from the very start of this summary. As you will have seen from the thumbnail, we're dealing with the Fiona Pender case. If you're new here, this is a deep dive into the timeline of this case itself. Look, let's get straight into it. The case summary. Fiona Pender, age 25, was last seen around 6 a.m. at a ground floor flat on Church Street, Tullamore, County Offaly, Ireland, on the morning of Thursday, August 23rd, 1996. She shared the flat with her boyfriend John Thompson. Following a several-month spell living in London from November 1995, the couple had returned back to County Offaly, Ireland in the spring. Fiona left school at 15 years of age after her intermediate certificate. A hairdresser by trade and occasional part-time model, Fiona was a bright, outgoing, positive young lady who always wore a smile on her face. She had trained with Kassard's Salon and also taken up some modelling work with a friend's agency, Emer Condron. At the time of her disappearance, Fiona was 7 months pregnant and had spent the previous day out shopping with her mother. She was last reported seen by her boyfriend at the couple's flat before he left for work. Fiona vanished without trace and for over 27 years has never been located. Following cold case reviews, her disappearance is now classified as a murder with a suspect. So just some quick background before we start our timeline. More detail. Fiona Pender was born in 1971 to Sean and Josephine Pender. She grew up in a close-knit family in Connolly Park, Tullamore, County Offaly. She had two younger brothers, Mark and John. Sadly, the family would suffer a first tragedy in June 1995 when Mark's motorcycle struck a lorry and was killed in the accident south of the family home in Tullamore. Fiona trained and worked as a hairdresser locally and undertook occasional part-time modelling jobs. By the mid-1990s, she met her boyfriend John Thompson, the only son of a large local farming family in Grange, County Laois, that's about 8 miles from Tullamore. He worked on the family farm, but for a period of several months from November 1995 when the couple moved to London. Homesick for Ireland, the couple soon returned and set up home in a small flat on Church Street, Tullamore. Life was about to get a lot more busy. The couple had discovered in February of that year that Fiona was pregnant and expecting their first child, due on the 22nd of October 1996. This news precipitated their plans to return back to Ireland that spring. On Thursday the 22nd of August, Fiona spent much of the day out with her mother at a shopping centre, buying baby clothes and looking forward to her oncoming birth. Feeling tired, Fiona was dropped off at her flat by her mother that evening. It would be the last time Josephine Pender ever saw her daughter. Fiona was formally reported to be a little under the weather that evening prior to her disappearance on the morning of Friday, August the 23rd, 1996. She was experiencing a bout of heartburn and her boyfriend suggested she might want to visit her local doctor, considering the late stage of her pregnancy. He was due in work shortly after 6 a.m. and he reported later to Irish police that this was the last time he saw Fiona. We're going to take an insert here just before we get into the timeline. And this is John Pender speaking about Fiona. Let's take a listen to that.
Fiona was a really fun sister to have, looking back. You know, I have nothing but good memories of a childhood with her. She was bright and bubbly, and she always had a bit of a smile on her face. She had a lot of love in her, you know. It certainly took its toll on the family, and the most heartbreaking thing was seeing the stress that it caused in the house, seeing how it aged my dad. It affected him terrible.
Keep hoping that she's out there and she's okay.
I honestly feel that my dad died of a broken heart, you know. He took his own life. We have a monument for her, I'm very happy to have. And it's a great place to pay respects here, and it's the next best thing we have to a gravesite for her. But unfortunately, we're no further on in that case. You know, we still need people's help.
Kieran, we'll bring you in now.
Yeah. Thanks for having me back, Mick. Yeah,
No.
very well known case.
Yeah, sure, you're a part of the furniture now.
Yeah, thanks. No need for an intro anyway.
Just for everybody, Kieran from anybody, Ireland's Vanishing Triangle and Irish Cold Cases groups and website. Kieran, take it away. What's your early thoughts on this?
It's just I know all the cases we've covered are all tragic, obviously, but this one, like, and this one stands out as particularly tragic because obviously her brother died just before she went missing, and then she was pregnant as well, and then I suppose as we'll go on through the timeline, there's like further tragedy for the family. Shockingly, like it's like, and then but I suppose the only like one little bit of hope I think in this case, like compared to some of the other ones, it seems like there is possibly going to be a prosecution at some stage. Like
there's certainly substance in this case in a way when we look at certain missing case, you know, and you know obviously for anybody just touching this case for the first time, Fiona's remains have never been found. She is believed to have been murdered. There is a suspect, you know, reveal, you know, we'll talk about that later. And yeah, the family have certainly gone through a bit of an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, so if there's any justice, there will be justice. Part of the fun.
We hope so. We hope so.
Yeah.
Everybody, let's get into the timeline. Okay, again, as I always say, don't lock yourself into the moment you're watching this feature and think of times now. Put yourself back to the time that we're in. We're going to start in October 1993. Fiona Pender's brother introduces her to a friend of his. His name is John Thompson. The three of them loved motorbikes, and John and Fiona spark a relationship soon after a first date in Bear, County Offaly, Ireland. 2 years on, in the summer of June 1995, Fiona's beloved brother is killed in a motorbike accident with a lorry. Mark Pender will leave behind a fiancée and young son himself. His death hits Fiona hard. They were just 2 years apart in age and close siblings. Same year, 1995. After a short spell living in London with Fiona's Aunt Bernie and both taking up jobs at the Hilton Hotel in Croydon, that's John and Fiona, the couple.
I was going to say, Mick, that's a big change from Offaly to move to London.
Yeah, it certainly could. It certainly could.
Yeah.
With Fiona expecting her first child, the couple decide to return to Tullamore briefly at Clonminch Road and then later Church Street. March 1996. Fiona and John have a brief miscarriage scare, but all turns out well and Fiona's pregnancy progresses healthily. Thursday, August 22nd, 1996. This is the day before disappearance. Throughout the day, Fiona and her mother spend much of the day at the Bridge Shops Centre in Tullamore shopping for baby clothes. Josephine needs to get Fiona's younger brother trousers for the coming term in September. Mother and daughter discuss plans when Fiona gives birth. The small flat on Church Street with just a kitchen and bedsit style sleeping arrangement is simply unsuitable for a newborn infant. John is working additional hours at his family's farm in nearby County Laois, and they are already looking for a larger home. Once the baby is born, Fiona will spend the first few weeks at our family home in Connolly Park, and she and John hope that by then they will have located a new permanent home to live in, be it a house or a flat. After the shopping trip, Fiona returns with her mother to the Pender family home and she chats with her father Sean, who is about to embark on a fishing trip. Now it's 7 p.m. that evening. Josephine Pender, Fiona's mother, says goodbye to her daughter. She and her 13-year-old son, John, have walked Fiona back to her flat. They will catch up the following day. This is the entrance. I believe there were a number of kind of kitchen cum bedsit apartments, if you want to call them that, flats within this premises. Kieran?
Yeah, I'm wondering, I think the apartment, so to speak, it was kind of like a big house sort of thing.
It was a big house separated up, as you often get with these kind of facilities, yeah. Friday, August the 23rd, 1996. John Thompson leaves for work on his family's farm around 6 a.m. He will later state to Gardaí, Irish police, that Fiona was still in bed and feeling under the weather with heartburn, as she had reported to him the previous evening. He suggests she got to the local doctor clinic and then he departs for work. During the afternoon, Josephine Pender, Fiona's mother, is out shopping in Tullamore for cabbage plants and some other items. She decides to pop across to the nearby flat of her daughter on Church Street, not having heard from her since the previous evening. She finds the blinds at the ground level flat are pulled down and she doesn't get any response when she knocks at the door. Believing Fiona to be out somewhere that day, she heads home to Connolly Park. She recalls that Fiona mentioning some friends of hers were home for a visit from the USA and concludes that her daughter is probably busy meeting up with them that day or over the weekend. In the early hours of Saturday morning, we're at 2 a.m. Two witnesses will later come forward to Gardaí and report that the two men of varying age, one older, struggle with a heavy item wrapped up while loading it into the rear of a vehicle. It struck them just odd at the time. Saturday, August 24th, 1996. Again, another day has passed by and Josephine and Sean Pender have not heard from their daughter. They attend evening mass service at the local church. Just a short distance away, they decide to call into Fiona. The flat is still in darkness and the blinds still down. For the first time that weekend, they are starting to become concerned. They walk the 10-minute journey home to Connolly Park and decide to ring John Thompson, Fiona's boyfriend, at the Grange family farm, believing he must be still working there that evening. He tells Josephine and Sean that she is not in the flat and he just assumed Fiona had been across and staying with them since the Friday afternoon when he left for work. Along with John, later that evening, they begin walking the streets and searching Tullamore town. Josephine will later recount in statements to An Garda Síochána that when she and John went into the couple's flat on Church Street, this is her parents, she immediately noticed the baby items Fiona had bought were there, but no sign of her daughter. There was also no sign of a break-in or intrusion. They visited the graveyard thinking Fiona might have gone there to see her brother Mark's grave, something she frequented quite often. But with increasing concern, they began to phone several of Fiona's friends and then the local hospital, but there was nothing. They went to the local Garda station that evening and reported Fiona missing. No formal appeal or search would commence fully for another 2 days. Kieran, do you want to come in and Anton there?
Yeah, just when you were going through there, it's very unlikely there was a break-in considering the type of
and I think that the
and it was on the main street of Tullamore as well.
Yeah, it's a busy street. That house that you saw in the timeline, it fronts directly out onto a busy street. And believe me, Tullamore, I've been there many times. It's a busy street. Even late in the evening, you've constantly got cars passing by.
Yeah, and I was wondering, like, how long did you say they lived in that place for? Was it a few months or what?
They were, I forget the name of the place. When they came back from London, they briefly stayed in one place, and it was literally only for maybe 2 or 3 months. So they were only a few months in this place, not very long.
Seems a strange place to live, considering like he had a big load of land and all, and probably a big farmhouse, etc.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
We can posit ideas as to why it wouldn't have been better for the couple returning from London. And again, I go into this in the timeline. The real reasons why they came back, what was really going on. Why didn't they, instead of renting a makeshift bedsit that clearly wasn't suitable because they knew Fiona was pregnant, why they just rented this makeshift bedsit when John had a family, a large farm. Was there not a possibility that they could have, located there, even for a short period of time through the pregnancy and all that, and then maybe the following year then found their feet and it does.
Like, it would be a pain in the arse for him as well, having to drive from Tullamore to the farm.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not that far, but at the same time,
unnecessary.
Unnecessary.
What did he farm? Do you know?
Like, as far as I know, it was dairy. I'll stand corrected, but I think it was a dairy farm.
It's quite busy.
I interesting that you also mentioned the idea, why Church Street, Tullamore. I can't help shaking off the feeling that after for whatever reasons, that they moved to London briefly to I think it was the Aunt Bridget Bridie, and then came back within a few short months with the onset of the pregnancy. I can't shake off the feeling that Fiona was still very close to her family and wanted somewhere to live that was quite close to her family. I don't know whether I'm not going to overanalyze it because there's no point. I don't know whether there was an uncertainty of where a relationship was going with the pregnancy, whether she just wanted the support of family and wanted to be located somewhere close to our family when after the escapade in London. I don't know. I'm just surmising.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, so throughout 1996, though not revealed publicly then, Gardaí have a definite line of inquiry and potential suspect within days. Sorry, let me just go back there. I skipped something there. Monday, August 26, 1996, Gardaí and Tullamore begin contacting local media to form an alert. No one has heard from Fiona in 4 days. By lunchtime Monday, the appeal extended nationally on TV and radio. Gardaí begin an extensive search of the flat on Church Street that Fiona and John had shared, as well as searches on the surrounding land and locale. Though not publicly revealed in the following months, Gardaí have a definite line of inquiry and potential suspect within days. They are certain they are dealing with an abduction and murder. However, it will be some years before the case is actually formally upgraded to murder. There are considerable reasons why. Conscious of other abductions and murder cases, Gardaí cannot discount that Fiona has been the victim of a serial killer. However, Fiona's family are adamant to this day that is not the case. Now, we're going to get into areas here in this timeline where I like to try and fix ourselves within the time and what was known as in the time. But it's very difficult when we know what we know now but wasn't known then. So I want you to all keep that in mind. Unknown publicly at the time, and this is 1996, 13-year-old John Pender, this is Fiona's younger brother, will break a confidence his sister swore him to. He confides to his parents and Gardaí investigating the case that Fiona had told him during her very early stage of pregnancy that she was assaulted and a strangulation attempted on her by a person known intimately to her and who was later the prime suspect in the case. The intimate person known to her had cried like a baby. That's a quote from a Garda statement. After the assault, and swore it would never happen again. That's John Pender's witness statement to Gardaí. Unfortunately it did, months later. Thursday the 24th April 1997. Gardaí are becoming concerned about a 4x4 vehicle, a Jeep style vehicle, witnessed in Church Street area at the time of Fiona's disappearance, and serious discrepancies in witness statements given previously in 1996 as to where that vehicle actually was and its movements on or about August 22nd to 24th, 1996. Shortly after 7 a.m, they swoop and make the arrests of 3 women, who were all sisters, and 2 men, a father and son, at a number of town and rural locations in the Offaly and Laois areas. Some of these individuals are known to Fiona Pender at the time of her disappearance and believed to be withholding information or perverting the course of justice. That's Section 4 of the Criminal Justice Act. One of the men arrested was the privately named suspect in the early 1996 strangulation attack on Fiona Pender. All 5 were later released without charge at 7 p.m. that evening, Thursday 24th of April, after being held. In April 1996, a witness had also previously come forward after appeals and stated to Gardaí that he was almost forced off a road south of Tullamore, and it was in the direction of Sleep Bloom Mountains by a 4-wheel drive vehicle driven at speed on the night Fiona was last seen. It will not be the first or last time the Sleep Bloom Mountains keep being referenced by witnesses and incidences in this case. Kieran, something you mentioned something to me about that vehicle.
There, Mick. Yeah, I was going to say, I remember Alan Bailey, the retired detective, wrote in his book, and I'm fairly sure Barry Cummings did as well. The car that the man spotted in speeding through the Sleep Bloom Mountains, it had a bumper sticker across the front windscreen, and it had the words
keep it lit,
her
lit, yeah. And to any of our international viewers, it's a kind of it's more a would be described as more of an Irish colloquial rural phrase. Keep it lit, keep her lit, you know.
Yeah, it was very vague to me, to be honest. I couldn't really might have heard it before, but it would be quite, I don't know, but it's distinctive, but
as a sticker,
yeah, for a car like that. But no, it's just very like with the arrests. Well, I suppose we guess who was arrested.
We'll reveal shortly. Let's go on to 1996 to 2017 searches. So we're going to just start to quickly move through now. Numerous land and river searches are conducted across many areas in the areas of Offaly Laois. This also includes the Sleep Bloom Mountains and extensive tracts of farmland where it is believed Fiona Pender's body was deposited after she was killed.
I was going to say, Mick, from what I know of the Sleep Bloom Mountains, they're like extremely remote and parts that don't even. It's very hard.
It's like the Burren in Kerry and Clare. Yeah. It's barren. Yeah, barren. Mountains. Yeah. Searchers specifically use metal detectors in many of the land searches. Why? Because Fiona had a metal brace inserted in her arm at an early age following a breakage, a fracture, an accident. cold case and GSCR teams, that's Garda Serious Crime Review Units, increasingly begin to rule the case of Fiona Pender out from other cases of abduction and murder in the Midlands of Ireland. This also includes the case of Marie Gilmartin. And we're just going to take a very brief news footage of some of those searches.
Unfortunately, despite significant efforts and large-scale investigations down the years, we have not been successful to date in recovering Fiona. However, following on recent investigations and from intelligence we've gleaned from our inquiries, we are about to commence a search today in the Kappa area of Rosenellis, a wooded area there. Now, this is not to say that this will be a successful search. It's just part of the ongoing investigations into this disappearance. This will be a forensic search, going from a least intrusive to an intrusive forensic search. We will be employing the services of our own specially trained people who are trained in searching for cold case persons who have been missing for substantial periods of time.
Now, in March 2000, tragedy. Kieran referenced this early on when we were speaking. Tragedy once again for the Pender family. Fiona's father, Sean, deeply depressed and broken-hearted, hangs himself. His 17-year-old son discovers him. 2008. A small wooden cross bearing Fiona's name was found by a member of the public in the Slieve Boom Mountains. Gardaí remain open to the possibility that Fiona's remains could be buried there, or this was some form of tribute or hoax. Searches were conducted in the area, providing any additional find or evidence. In the UK, a company called J&S Market Capital is registered by the prime suspect, and his wife is named company secretary. It is a financial investment business, but it's ultimately dissolved soon later in 2011. Within a year, a new company called J&S Investments is registered in Canada by the prime suspect. And that information is referenced on the Canadian company's registration and the UK company's registration. Kieran, you want to come in there?
Yeah, it was just. Do you remember you were saying about the cross that was found in Slieve Boom Mountain?
Yeah.
It was said that the date the cross was written on the cross or something that was very significant to somebody that Fiona knew. It was very strange. I remember reading that in a few of the newspapers. It was either the date they found the cross on or the date that was written on it was very significant. So, and then I think they actually buried Fiona Pender's brother's motorbike in the Slieve Boom Mountains after he died. Yeah, and then they were wondering if the cross was placed near there. So I think they were trying to suss that out as well. Again, it's a very wild place.
It's a wild place, and it's an oddity. And
yeah,
I think the Gardaí were still trying to figure out, was this some kind of just innocent symbolic gesture, or was there something a little bit more sinister about it, a little bit more probing about it, you know?
It seems, and also I know that it's probably come up in a few minutes, but somebody did place the prime suspect in that area. So,
okay, August 2014. Gardaí in Ireland become aware of an ongoing case in Saskatchewan, Canada. It concerns an Irishman from the Midlands of Ireland, Laois, accused of sexually assaulting his wife and threatening to kill her. They soon establish it is indeed their prime suspect into the abduction and murder of Fiona Pender. He had previously been arrested and questioned with other relatives without charge a number of years ago, 1997. Now you know who the 5 people were we referred to earlier. When Gardaí travelled to Canada, the woman, this is the wife, revealed that her husband, a truck driver and biker, had revealed to her that he was responsible for a missing woman in Ireland, and that if she ever spoke about it to anyone, she would end up like her. She, the wife, discloses more information about the prime suspect. She reveals that during the early years of their relationship, around 2004, this was the year they were married, he brought her to the Slieve Bloom Mountains in Ireland and chillingly indicated to her that he had buried a woman in a woodland area in Kassard near Rosenallis, County Laois. I believe that was actually the area you saw in the earlier search footage. The area would be searched by specialist Gardaí teams, but no evidence of a body or grave was ever discovered. October 2015. Under judge-only trial, Justice Popeschool, the defendant, the prime suspect in the Fiona Pender case, was found not guilty despite a series of video evidence of his acts. The judge found that the sexual acts could not be proven to be non-consensual. The accused was released by the Canadian High Court. Now divorced, the suspect later informs his ex-wife, the case defendant, and friends that he has no intention of returning to Ireland, and what remaining money he has will be invested in gold and silver and building a bunker in the Saskatchewan woodland away from people before the world's economic collapse. He later tries to sue the Canadian authorities for wrongful arrest, but fails. Kieran, yeah, there's a whirlwind few paragraphs.
Well, the first thing you'd have to say, he's quite an arrogant individual,
Yeah.
it seems. And then I suppose it'll be quite cold in the Canadian wilderness at this time of year, despite whatever bunker you build.
In your bunker with your beans and your rifle and fighting the world and the economic collapse and the next apocalypse. Good luck to you.
Yeah, and then I suppose, well, certainly though, the fact he's a truck driver, that's kind of worrying. So you'd certainly want to hope, I'd hope the Canadian authorities are keeping an eye on him. But like, he has popped up to them, so he's done. He's on their radar. You'd presume.
Very much so.
It would have to be a good thing, yeah.
Okay, September 2017. Sadly, Fiona's mother, Josephine Pender, passes away. Josephine Pender was a long-time campaigner for justice for her daughter and the prosecution of her killer. But ultimately, she wanted her daughter's body located as well as her unborn child. Her son, John Pender, has continued to campaign for justice for Fiona and conviction of the prime suspect. We're going to move now to the conclusions of analysis in this case. I make no bones about it. We're going to lay it bare here, and we're going to cut to the chase here. Fiona's ex-boyfriend and father of her expectant child moved to Canada in 2012. Let's not beat about the bush. John Thompson is the prime suspect in this case. I appreciate that media have tiptoed around this case for legal reasons instead, using casual innuendo. I get it, but it's about time you named it, Kieran.
Yeah, can I just say one thing? Sorry, but that's true. I know I've noticed that a lot. The media tiptoe around the case and so on, and that's probably for reasons we've discussed. But he gave an interview to the Irish Times in 1997 and told them that he took a dim view of his arrest for Fiona Pender's disappearance. So, he stated it.
Yeah.
In the Irish Times, it's there in black and white. So,
within days of Fiona's disappearance, John Thompson, his father Archie, and his three sisters were the 5 people arrested in 1997. I referenced in the timeline above. They, together as a family, are believed by Gardaí to have collaborated and conspired in the months following Fiona's death, providing alibis and a series of misinformation in witness accounts. This included the movement and disposal of Fiona's body to conceal what actually happened in the late and early hours of Saturday, August 23rd, 24th, 1996. John and his father Archie provided false information about the movements of the Farm 4x4 Jeep, and Gardaí believed they used it to dispose of Fiona's body and unborn child. John Thompson, 2 years younger than Fiona, grew up in vastly different upbringings and families. Thompson was immature, awkward and introverted, but still with a degree of charm and bravado. He relied heavily on his family to fix his life and provide him with a work and wage, while Fiona was outgoing and simply wanted to follow the settled life with a steady husband and kids. While intrigued by Fiona as an attractive young lady, a sometime model for magazines and wedding events, it's entirely possible that he felt threatened by her outgoing nature and grew more controlling, particularly after the couple returned from London. Back in Laois Offaly, he was closer to his own family once again. As Kieran suggested there, John Thompson did give press interviews initially, up until the first year of Fiona's disappearance. In his words, "I didn't want to be seen to be giving the guards the finger, but the fact remains that she's still missing. They, the Gardaí, will tell you that they searched high and low, but they did 2 searches on this farm, and there is a well outside the door, and it was never searched." He added that a slurry tank on the farm was also never searched. Again, quoting him,
to how arrogant, like, that's really. He says, "I don't want to give the guards 2 fingers," and then gives them 2 fingers.
Here's your 2 fingers that you were asking for. Again, in his words, "At the end of the day, Fiona is out there somewhere, and it's their job to find her. I just want to highlight the fact that she is still missing. It's just not good enough for them to suggest that we disposed of her and then leave it at that. I feel that someone might have seen something, but is afraid." And in referring to rumours of the couple's religious upbringing and his suggested involvement, he also goes on to state in that interview, they were not even worthy of comment, but I deny it. We were not bigots, nor are the Pender family. Look, sadly 2 people, through their own circumstances and choices, should probably have never met and settled together. Didn't work out in London, and I remain intrigued by why such a move to England was ever contemplated considering their upbringing. Equally, on their return in the spring of 1996, it was never going to work out back home in Offaly, Laois. Likely, Fiona's pregnancy ended their freedom adventure in London. I don't see the circumstances as just a coincidence. John Thompson is capitulated back into a world of adult responsibility he was simply not cut out for then. But it certainly never stopped him having children with the women he later formed relationships with in Ireland and abroad. Thompson continues to maintain his innocence in the disappearance and murder of Fiona Pender, despite abuse and assault allegations following him everywhere he goes to live. Maintaining and pleading his innocence is his civil right without charge and conviction, though he has much disappeared from the public eye, always fearing a return to his native County Laois, even when his own family members passed away. But Gardaí are always waiting for that unexpected return home. Meanwhile, John Pender continues to fight for justice for his sister and the wider Pender family through awareness and campaigns. Like his mother, Josephine, who tirelessly fought for years, and his dad's own personal struggle with depression and loss, that's just what young brothers do for their big sister when she isn't yet home. We can only hope that one day John Thompson will reveal what was really going on in his relationship with Fiona, and crucially, his exact movements and activities in the late evening of August 23rd, 1996, and the day after. Kieran?
Thanks, Mick. Just back to the interview he gave, it's quite curious because he never denies anything in relation to Fiona's disappearance. It's quite passive aggressive, and the only denial really is that there was disputes between the families based on their religious upbringing. He never actually, it's quite a pretty strange words in the interview he gave to Times, like.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose when you hear from suspects who are, as it were, under the spotlight of Gardaí, who've been brought in for questioning, be they arrested or not, but, you know, they clearly know they're being examined and looked at carefully in relation to a potential crime. It's never in your best nature advice to be in any way arrogant, or however you badly you feel you've been treated, because what happens then is, if the finger's been pointed at you and you play the victim, as I've always said, all you're doing is re-victimizing the victim themselves, and it never paints you in a good light. And he's done nothing for himself in this case with any of his public interactions.
No, is that why he doesn't make them anymore, you'd presume?
Yeah. And well, I think we can tell from what Gardaí know about his personal relationships since then, subsequently to then, he's also a man who can't keep his fucking mouth shut.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, because he's like, as you said, he's like threatened former partners with this and all, but he's always, though, he never really quite incriminates himself or, saying them things. It's always just him and the other person there, and it's he said, she said, and
as you described it, the man is not guilty until he's convicted and found, not to be guilty. But at the end of the day, he hasn't done himself any favours, and you summed it up. There's an arrogance that we've seen before in other cases where ultimately we know you're going to get found out and you're eventually going to get convicted, and there's an arrogance about him that doesn't behold him very well.
Because you can be fucking you can be sure the guards are absolutely still on this one, like they really want a conviction on this. I'd say it's absolutely like top of their mandate, like every year. Like in this case, really, they've never given up on this one. Like
no, and I don't think they are. But ultimately, we'll have to see what develops. I don't think in this case, unless Fiona's body is ultimately found, her remains, I don't think there's anything of any more substance that's going to happen in this case, because we know that prime suspect, Mr. John Thompson, is not likely to return to Ireland. The Gardaí seem to have enough substance on the case, but perhaps without the heavy forensic detail of a body. In a sense, we fitted everything together, but the bit we're missing is Fiona's remains. If we get that, the suspect is done and dusted.
So that's what you have to hope. That's the hope, isn't it? So
that's like quite a number of women in Ireland. That's all we can hope for. That somewhere out there, Fiona's remains, whether by searches or whether just accidentally, and we see that quite often, that a body is found just completely accidentally. And interesting, in the video, well, when people view this, it will have already come out. I did an update on the Tina Satchwell and Trevor Dealey case, and just in the week we come out of the National Missing Persons Day, there is a database being set. I have no fucking clue why it's taken them this long, but we know there's a database now, a forensic database, which captures the records of bodies, people whose remains have been found, and a desperate attempt to try and match them possibly to some of the cases of missing people that we know nothing about. We can only hope, like many other families of missing people, and we're thinking of them this week, that somewhere out there Fiona's remains have been found, but somehow they have not been matched up. Now, I find that difficult to believe that her body has been found. The Pender family have already given DNA. I would be very surprised if that's the case.
And you'd more be happy to get into, like, if they live near the sea and they're right in the Midlands. Like for something like that to happen, it's like unusual. Like that they'd find a body around the Midlands and then they wouldn't, but you never know. So hopefully one day, with all the development going on and things like this, the body might show up, or some of them.
We can only hope that, Kieran.
Yeah.
Kieran, just to clarify, and for everybody listening and watching, this is the last case myself and Kieran are doing prior to Christmas. We'll be back with another case after Christmas. Thank you for joining Kieran and I for episode 40 of Radio Espial. God bless, and we'll see you again in another in-depth analysis case in the new year. I have a number of special features coming up throughout mid to late December on Radio Espial. Stay tuned and hit the alert button for them on the channel. If I don't have the video up in the next couple of weeks, I wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a safe New Year. Same to you, Kieran. God bless. And we'll all be back in the new year and doing what I hope people respect us for doing, and just throwing a light on these particularly missing person cases.
Can I just say before we go,
sure,
Mick, like, fair play to you, because I was actually on another podcast the other day, and I was just saying, like, fair play to you, because any of these cases, like, there's documentaries, podcasts, books, even newspaper articles, but like the way you cover the timelines and all, everything that
everything, it's the kitchen. That's what we both do. We put the kitchen sink into each case as best we can, and it's it's to try and be as lucid as possible, because you're right. Pick any, particularly the cases that are very well highlighted, and I'm not just talking about Ireland. I'm talking about the UK, Central Europe, the United States. We all know the highbrow cases that are talked about, and they get an awful lot of attention. What we've tried to do over the last year is also shine a light onto the cases that maybe people don't hear much about. And not only that, what we're trying to do here is we're not here to try and solve a crime or point a finger at someone and say, there, we've solved it. That's not what we do. What we do is we present the case to you as best we can with as much accurate evidence, give you a timeline, we give you some kind of analysis and view of where the case is, what's gone on, what stage it's at, and that's what we're trying to do, so that there's a reference point if in the future something develops in the case, that you've got a reference point to go back to and go, I'm going to go back to Radio Espial and listen to that case again and catch back up on what's gone on there, because you don't always get that in documentaries. They kind of have a tendency to handpick details, or sometimes badly present the case in a manner which is not really always balanced,
convoluted and all that as well. Like, not in the chronological form. Really, a lot of them don't. So that's a good thing about the timelines. You're following the days and times.
Kieran,
all right,
take care.
Thanks, Mick.
God bless to everybody, and we'll be back soon.